What was supposed to be the next phase of a military showdown has suddenly been put on hold. In a move that surprised both allies and critics, President Donald Trump has called off further U.S. military action against Venezuela, just days after a dramatic operation reshaped the country's political future. The question now is simple but critical. Is this the beginning of stability, or just a pause before another storm? On January 9, 2026, President Trump announced that the United States has canceled plans for a second wave of military action against Venezuela. According to the administration, the decision was driven by what Trump described as meaningful cooperation from Venezuelan authorities, including the release of political detainees and signs of de-escalation following last week's operation that removed Nicolas Maduro from power. While further attacks are off the table for now, U.S. forces are not leaving the region, and that detail matters more than it may seem. The administration says the shift came after several developments inside Venezuela. In recent days, Venezuelan authorities began releasing large numbers of political prisoners, something U.S. officials framed as a clear signal that the new leadership wants to reduce confrontation rather than escalate it. Trump publicly stated that additional military strikes no longer appear necessary under current conditions. However, the pause is conditional, not permanent. U.S. naval and security forces remain deployed as a precaution, underscoring that Washington is watching closely and reserving the option to respond if cooperation breaks down. Importantly, no new large-scale protests were officially reported following the announcement, and casualties linked to the conflict were confined to the initial phase of military operations. For now, the White House says the focus is shifting away from combat and toward stabilization. The military decision did not happen in isolation. It came just ahead of a high-level White House meeting with senior oil executives, where Venezuela's energy future is expected to take center stage. U.S. energy companies are evaluating whether Venezuela's oil production could be increased by several 100,000 barrels per day. Any such move, however, would require partial relief from U.S. sanctions, a politically sensitive issue. Publicly, Trump has claimed that energy firms are eager to invest billions. Privately, industry leaders remain far more cautious. Political instability, security risks, and the fragile state of Venezuela's infrastructure have made major companies hesitant to commit. Experts say that while short-term gains could come from maximizing existing facilities, fully restoring Venezuela's oil industry would likely take more than a decade. Smaller firms and private investors appear more willing to take limited risks, but large-scale transformation remains a long-term challenge. Sanctions policy is expected to be the deciding factor in how fast, or how slowly, this process moves. In his messaging, President Trump has framed the moment as a turning point. He has emphasized cooperation on economic rebuilding, infrastructure, and future trade, while also confirming that U.S. security forces will stay in place. Trump has suggested that Venezuela could prioritize American-made products in future agreements, including agricultural goods, medical supplies, and energy equipment. Officials say any long-term arrangement will unfold in multiple phases, not overnight. Analysts note that while protest activity has declined since the initial operation, political stability is still fragile. Long-term recovery, they warn, will depend on sustained governance reforms, not just short-term deals or investment promises. Here's the part that complicates the narrative. While the cancellation of further attacks signals restraint, the continued military presence and conditional language suggests something else. This is not a full reset. It's leverage. The United States has paused, but it hasn't stepped back. Every economic discussion, every sanction adjustment, and every reconstruction promise now carries an unspoken condition. Cooperation must continue, or the pressure returns. So where does this leave Venezuela and the United States? On the surface, tensions appear to be cooling. Prisoners are being released, and conversations are shifting toward rebuilding. But beneath that calm is a fragile balance, held together by military readiness, economic leverage, and political uncertainty. Whether this moment becomes the foundation for long-term stability, or just an intermission before the next confrontation, will depend on what happens next, not what was announced today. And for now, the world is watching closely.